Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Next edition of Last Bell Boxing Show. So we're just going to review the Conor Benn card. So we'll probably start with the first fight on the card. Andy, did you get a chance to see that?
I did, yeah. You're learning nothing off that, are you?
Mm.
I mean, the opponent brought absolutely nothing to the table, and the kid's got a lot of learning to do. Until let's have it right. So I think the quicker we skip that, the better.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought it was better than his first fight because his first fight he lost for me.
He's just such a novice, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Has he come from a rugby background or something?
Oh no, so John Hedges was he was the light heavy one before.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So he was on the Sky one. So basically, what happened was
touch and go. That one, won it, Ray. Touch and go.
Yeah. So he had his debut on in November, super middle, and he had lost. In most people's eyes, he had lost. His excuse was it was down in super middle. You couldn't make that weight. You were struggling with that weight, which is a ridiculous excuse for a second somebody on the debut. So he's fought again at light heavy. He fought a lot better. He was in control of this fight, but he had shown strides of improvement. But it was but then after that fight, you obviously had the Campbell, who was the rugby player, who was the heavyweight.
Right. That's the first. Yeah. That's the first fight I saw on Sky TV.
No. What do you think of it, Carl?
Which one we're talking about? You've lost me a little bit. Which fight?
The Campbell.
Yeah, I wasn't overly impressed, being brutally honest. I only caught bits of it because it was quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Nothing stood out for me. Not really impressed. But it's very early days. It's very difficult with these novice fighters, isn't it? I think I know we're going to come on to Conor Benn, but it proves how far they can come in a short distance. Because Conor Benn, to what he is now, obviously, night and day. So I won't be rushing out to watch him. And again, let's put it that way, Meg.
No. Dave?
I just jumped in at the Cash Farouk fight. So, I've got no comment. John Hedges.
I know you're a big fan of Cash Farouk, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a fan. I think he's a great boxer. Got everything there, all the tools. Like you said earlier, the Chocolatito comparison in terms of what he could do. Fantastic judgment of distance. I know he hasn't got that pop quite at the moment, but I think, like I said in the chat, it's probably lateral body movement and learning how to rotate off back foot that can bring that later on. But still a young lad as well.
He looked a bit open to me though, Dave. Looked a bit open.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Dave, do you think the team is are capable of teaching him that?
I don't know. Like, you might have to come further south.
Because for me, if he sticks with what he's got and what he's currently doing, he isn't gonna, like you just said, he doesn't have the pop, and he isn't gonna
walk through people.
No,
not just that. These better fighters are not going to respect what he's doing.
Yeah,
you know, without, when we've said this before, haven't we? Without a bit of power, these top draw fighters just walk through it all day long.
It would be interesting to see if he went with someone like Alex Arthur.
Right.
But again, a lot of people will have like opinions on Alex Arthur. I think he's a great coach.
Skill's definitely there. And when you see him fighting on the inside, I think he can cause a lot of people a lot of problems. He works his body really well.
Oh yeah.
We all talk about he's got that innate ability to measure the distance. His timing seems to be good. I hear what you're coming from, Andy, that the better fighters, especially these at that weight, your better fighters are from Central and South America, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're not going to show him too much respect. But
and they're all nails, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are. We see that's coming across a lot more now because they're coming over because of the lockdown situation. But a lot of it will probably come down to experience. Seeing that weight category, you can get the world rankings quite quickly because of the lack of depth. Really, it's only when you get the like sort of featherweight, you start getting those depth and quality. But I think he's got a lot of tools. I was very impressed with him. So I think he can go a long way. Yeah, he doesn't have the power. But I don't. There's plenty of room for improvement there.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
yeah, and I like him. I like what I saw. Yeah. Yeah, well, Carl, what you've used on obviously the main fight. I mean, no one expected that.
Yeah, I thought it was a great finish. I thought he was absolutely top draw. I think the ref jumped in at the right time, or he was going to get badly hurt. He looked a bit like a rabbit in the headlights. I think matchmaking is going to be a problem because who's going to want to jump in with him? Where does he go next? Amir Khan won't want to know. I think Brooks got a little bit more ambition left, so he may want to know. But why would it's Irish slow reward, isn't it? Why would you jump in with a kid?
Well, I mean, after his last performance, do you think he's really going to want to step in and get knocked out again?
No, I think his punch resistance has gone, hasn't it? You know,
yeah.
So it was a very average shot that finished Brook in my view.
His base hasn't really recovered, has it, lad? Since it's been damaged by Golovkin, and then it's been damaged by Spence. It's not really recovered.
I think Eddie Hearn gets his wallet out and gets him in with the big boys. Is my view. We've got a couple of comments in the side, Red. If you want to.
Yeah. So we've got Ben's coming in. He says, "What a performance by Conor Benn. The power was scary," and yeah, it was. It was. I mean, I think I'd say the finish was frightening. I'm still not too sure about Conor Benn being called as a puncher. I think what's happening is his technique's getting better over time, and he's finding more openings. The knockouts are coming. He's hitting people cleaner.
So for me, Vargas wasn't expecting that. He was expecting Ben to ease his way into the fight, probably thinking he'd have a bit more respect for him. And I think it probably took Vargas by surprise. And by the time he realised what was going on, it was done.
Yeah.
Vargas. I mean, let's have it right. Vargas has only been beat by the very, very best. You said it yourself, didn't you, Ray? And you know, when we talked about it on Thursday night, I think most of you predicted a points win because of Vargas's experience and who he's been with, you know, and who he's been beat by. So Vargas must have gone in there thinking, well, you know, it's going to go a few rounds. This I can ease my way into it. He was so laid back, too laid back. You know, he was in the ring and it was like he wasn't ready for me. But even so, I'm not taking anything away from what Conor Benn's just done. That is a massive, massive, massive statement, and he deserves all the plaudits he's going to get for that.
Where'd you go next, Ananda? Where'd you go next?
Well, you heard him in the post-fight interview. He's wanting the likes of Sean Porter into, and for me, why not? You know, he's come on so quickly. Why hold him back? He's going to do one or two things, and this is where he's just like his old man, sink or swim. Chuck me in, let me deal with it. That's his attitude, and good on him. I absolutely love him for that. And that's exactly why I loved his dad.
Well,
he's in the right division, isn't it? Let's have it. It's a stacked division.
It's stacked, that division. I mean, Dave.
Yep.
The thing with, I mean, for your views on it in terms of where he goes next, because we probably still see him in the learning stage.
Mm-hmm.
So, as well as people saying he's Sean Porter or a Keith Thurman or Adrian Broner,
yeah,
these guys are probably looking at him and thinking, well, he hasn't got a belt. What does he bring to the table? So, I mean, where do you sit on that?
I think domestic next in terms of Con. I think Eddie Hearn and like Conor's team. I think it was all everything in the post-fight press conference was just geared towards the Amir Khan fight. I think he beats Amir Khan. I mean, to be honest with you, I've never been a massive Khan fan, but I think Khan will give him a challenge. I think he'll give him a bit of a speed spar for a few rounds, and then Conor will just walk him down.
Dave,
after that,
it's going to take a lot of money, fellas. Get Khan in that ring with Ben.
Yeah.
We were just talking, Dave, before we went live. We were talking about that, and I don't think Conor Benn wants that fight. I think he thinks, why? What does that fight do for me?
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows that Amir Khan's past his best.
Yeah.
So what benefit does that give Conor Benn? Beating Amir Khan don't give him anything because everybody's just going to turn around and say, "Oh, you should have beaten him anyway."
Yeah.
I think Eddie Hearn's been easier. I think Eddie Hearn looks at it as being a domestic super fight.
Eddie Hearn's just looking at the money side of things.
It's not a domestic.
But that's the way you bill it.
For me, it's a domestic mismatch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so would Brooke. Sorry, yeah. So would Brooke.
Yeah.
I don't think Brooks is much of a mismatch, mind.
I do.
Even after Brooks' last performance.
There's punches that Brooke took against Crawford that wouldn't have bothered him. The same Kell Brook that fought against Sean Porter.
Well, that punch that knocked him down, the first punch that knocked him down, wasn't even a full hook, was it? No. It was a short hook. It didn't even look like it hurt.
Yeah.
Really, it just shows you just how far Brooks fell. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's a shame to see as well. You know, because he was a warrior.
I think if you put it on paper though, if you had Brooke and Khan in the ring now, who would you fancy to win?
It's not a fight I would want to see, to be honest, because as you know, Dave, I was a massive Amir Khan fan. I was a big Kell Brook fan, but Amir Khan was a big one for me. So I would say Brook, because Amir Khan's his main attribute was his speed.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest.
His agility, they've gone now, but Brook will still have his power.
Well, we don't really know what Khan's got left. He hasn't fought for God knows how long.
Yeah, but even in the Dib fight, he looked slow as. I mean, even when he fought Vargas, that win when he came out the jungle against Phil Greco, when he knocked him out in 25 seconds or whatever it was, papered over a lot of cracks for me.
Yeah.
People thought, oh, he still got his speed after he came. When he fought Vargas, he did look quite slow. So if that's where he was then, fast forward 2 years till now, you can't tell me he's got any bit of speed left. I just think he's just going to be a sitting duck for somebody like Kell Brook, who's then not got anything much left compared to somebody who's new, well, not at the top of his game, but coming to his prime. I mean,
I think
Conor Benn's 2 years off his prime for me.
That fight for me, Brook Khan doesn't make any sense in any way anymore. A couple of years ago, that was a arena fight, stadium fight.
I think they've already discussed it already, and won't be dropping his name in left, right, and centre. I'd be very surprised if they hadn't already had preliminary talks with the Khan team.
Yeah,
or why mention it?
Maybe so. But Eddie Hearn's good at throwing little things into mate. It didn't look to me like Conor Benn was agreeing with it. It looked like Conor Benn was a bit surprised that he come out with it. To be honest,
I'm not so sure about his team though.
Well, maybe so. But
it's a payday, isn't it?
I think the thing is with Eddie Hearn, he probably looks at it as being like, Conor Benn's going to make him money in the future. Amir Khan's made him a little bit of money in the past. With that fight, he calls off Amir Khan because Khan wouldn't win. So that's one less kind of check that he's got worry about in the future. Then concentrates on Conor Benn. But I know people are saying Sean Porter. I just think Sean Porter's always underestimated in these fights. I just think Sean Porter's just still a leap too far for Conor Benn.
The thing is though, Dave. I mean, if we're going to be realistic, the other option is you go down the American prospect route. So the likes of Ortiz, you've got 2 Americans fighting tonight, Ennis, Lemonets. Is that not an avenue to explore? Because as I was saying earlier, the likes of Portman, Broner, Thurman, realistically, they're chasing Crawford, Spence, Pacquiao. They're chasing belts. They're chasing bigger fish.
The only thing I'd say about Broner is he is a little bit mercenary, isn't he? So I think if you show him a pound note, it might be a good fight for Conor to have in America, maybe, and build his
American market.
I think Porter's the same.
I'd rather see him fight Broner than Porter.
Yeah, Broner's often, you can break Broner's heart, can't you? People have done it in the past, you know. And is he motivated? You know, does he live the life?
He doesn't. And I think he's work. He beats because Broner doesn't have enough work weight at 147.
Yeah,
he thinks he hits hard that weight, and I think Conor beats him quite comfortably. So I think that's a great fight, a Broner fight.
Yeah. He's Mayweather without the slickness, isn't it? You know, he likes that. He likes to do the shoulder roll.
Yeah, shoulder roll, and
Do you think this result tonight has hindered Conor Benn a little bit?
In what way?
Well, he's dispensed of a top 10 fighter like he wasn't even there, and he puts him in a real difficult position now because realistically, who's left at domestic level that help his progression?
There's 2 ways of looking at it, though. A part of me thinks just slow it down. I know his team. I got the impression his team was slowing him down a little bit because if he goes, I'm just thinking there's some banana skins out there, you know.
But why give him the Vargas fight then? If you want to slow him down, he should have had more domestic fights before this.
No, but I'm talking about it's a big jump, isn't it, from Vargas to start jumping in with Porter, Spence.
Why is it? Vargas has been in with
my view, it is. Yeah,
but why is it?
In my view, I just think people might be getting a bit carried away. That's all. Very good performance tonight. I agree. But it's night and day to be comparing Vargas with the likes of Spence and
no, I didn't say Spence. Spencer's the ultimate. That'd be 3 or 4 years down the line when Conor Benn's at his peak.
So who matchmaking him with for 3 and 4 years then?
Who?
Ben.
That's when he's at the top for me. If he carries on the progression he's continuing now, then in 3 or 4 years' time, he's in there with the very elite of that level.
My only point is, if you start talking about Broner and even Sean Porter, the only way is to carry on that path to even more elite fighters. That's my only point.
Which is 3 or 4 years down the line.
From what you're seeing, Carl, if I get this right, you're seeing Broner and Porter as a bridge to the likes of Crawford and Spence.
Bit of a gatekeeper. I'd want another measuring stick before I throw him in with the elite levels.
So who's the measuring stick then after you've just faced a number 10 fighter that's been in with all of them and none of them have done what Conor Benn's just done to him?
Avanesian.
Yeah.
Avanesian's possibility, but like...
Did he beat Avanesian?
If you speak to...
I don't think so.
You see, that's why I want to see that fight.
No.
But I know they, you know, not that Carl Greaves would turn it down as to say, I don't want that fight for David. I just think he probably thinks David deserves a lot more.
He does.
But I want to see that fight because... Sorry?
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, mate. He does, Carl. He's already said it. He thinks that Carl Greaves deserves... he thinks that Avanesian deserves a world title shot now.
Yeah.
And he does.
He'll be licking his lips tonight, won't he, Carl Greaves and Evanesian? They'll be licking their lips knowing that they've got, what did he say, 1 or 2 fight deals left in Matchroom?
He's got one more fight left on the Matchroom. And if they want, it could be extended. But what I think is, I think David Avanesian takes Ben to places Ben's...
Correct.
Look at it. Yeah, I know he's improved a lot. and you look at the when he fought the French lad Pernold or whatever.
It's night and day compared to how he is now as a fighter.
Those punches that Vargas received, Avanesian will take them all day long and still come forward with some. That's when you'll see what Ben's got.
He will do, and Avanesian wouldn't take off of those shots.
He'd have moved more. He'd have been gone. He'd be out of range.
And he, like you say, is a pressure fighter. Ben's not really been in with anyone like that. That's a massive learning curve, and probably more of a test. Well, it's easy to say that now in hindsight, more of a test than tonight.
Well, Conor Benn's stop would have risen no end tonight, wouldn't it? So I'll be guessing that Carl Greaves will be on the old dog and bone at some point, saying, "Get me in with Ben." David Evanesian stock is high at the minute after his last win. So what, to me, interesting. It was never mentioned tonight. They'd rather talk about Brooklyn Khan.
I tell you why they haven't mentioned him tonight, because Eddie Hearn knows just how dangerous Avanesian is.
Correct.
I was just about to say, and it's what I was saying off air. He's live. You could argue. I know you said that Andy Vargas was coming at the end of his career. There's no such qualms with David Avanesian.
Oh no. No, you're right.
He comes forward, so I think he gives Conor Benn lots of problems, and he's gone for the easy money options for when the fans come back. Brook and Khan, both in my opinion, are finished.
Yeah, they are. I don't. For me, if those fights get made, I'll be really disappointed, because I don't think Ben needs them.
Yeah, I'll have to ask you, because if I was to ask you yes or no, can you see Conor Benn winning a world title at welterweight?
In what sort of time scale are we looking at?
Let's say within the next 2 years.
No.
There
you go, Ray. I'll give you a straight answer for you. No.
It's not as simple as that, is it?
Well, it is.
No, it isn't. Hold on a minute.
He's got 24 months to win a title.
Hold on a minute.
He might get the IBO.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, would you say Conor Benn could beat Vargas?
Well, do you think he's going to win it then?
No, you wouldn't. Exactly. So my point is, look at the progression he's made.
Question.
Look, I'm answering the question, if you let me. Look at the progression he's made in 2 years. Who's to say he can't make that progression again in the next 2 years?
So
and if he does, then yes, if he can make the same progression he's made currently for the next 2 years, yes, he can win a world title. Keep this recorded. In 2 years' time, let's play it back.
So, do you think he's going to win a world title in 2 years? Not only if he develops crap, is he going to win a title in 2 years or not?
If he carries on developing,
hold on a minute. No, it's just straight yes or no.
It's not straight yes or no, because it's 2 years' time. The guys, you've all just said he's still learning. He's still learning. He's still progressing. He still needs time. I'm giving you the answer to the question you just asked.
You're sitting on the fence.
No, I'm not. I'm not sitting on the fence. I've just told you, if he carries on progressing the way he's progressed, if he stays at the level he's at now, no, he can't win the world title in 2 years' time. If he carries on progressing the way he has done for the last 2 years, yes, he can win the world title. There you go. There's my answer.
All right, I'll say he can't no matter what. There you go. That's a straight answer.
No matter what.
I don't care how much he progresses. He ain't taking any of them world titles in the next 2 years, because Hearn will matchmake him. He won't. Who's he going to jump in?
Is that taking into consideration the quality?
I don't care what you take into consideration. He's not going to win a title in the next 2 years. Throw what you want at me, Ray. He's not going to do it.
He doesn't beat Spencer Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to consider they probably won't be in that division in two years' time.
I just believe in giving straight answers. I'm
giving you a straight answer just because I didn't say yes or no. That doesn't make it not a straight answer.
I just don't think he'll win a title in the next 2 years.
So here's a one. It doesn't matter what the division looks like. Do you think he wins a world title under Tony Simmons?
That's a loaded question.
I know exactly where you're coming from here. And I'll just say this, and I've just said it, so it's like I'm repeating myself. But Tony Sims has progressed him this far in 2 years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Got him to where he is. Yeah.
So who's to say that team's obviously working really well for Conor Benn, and they trust each other. I do think that Tony Sims has levels, and I do think he can only take fighters so far. But quite clearly, Conor Benn has made massive leaps. So
I think he gets him to a world title, but I don't know. I think he gets him to a world title, and then I think he'll re-challenge.
Worse fighters than Conor Benn winning world titles, though.
For me, Conor Benn.
God, I thought you've seen better trainers train them.
Yeah, you have. But for me, Conor Benn is a breed of his own. He is a carbon copy of his old man in the sense that he's not scared of anything or anybody.
Yeah, he's got his dad's heart.
Yeah.
And that takes you a long. He is a better boxer than his dad. It takes you a long way as well.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't hit as hard as his dad. Might be a better boxer. But
no, not naturally. But you've just said yourself.
Technique.
His technique's improved no end, and that's bringing him the extra power that he might have been struggling with before. And he's growing into it as well. I mean, like we've just said, he's becoming a man overnight, pretty much. You know, he's only 24 years old. I think you're underestimating what could happen in the next 2 years. I really do.
If you don't think perhaps Tony Sims could be the man to polish him off in a few years' time, then who else could?
That's going to you, Dave, because you was the one that said he couldn't.
I'm always one for the coaches.
Ben Davison.
You want to coach out with us?
Ben Davison, I'm not sure. I think someone who might be a good fit for him.
Carl, let him answer the question.
I would take
Give him thinking time.
I would take himself away, and I think you would go with someone like Abel Sanchez.
Up to be a mountain.
Yeah. Get away from it, and just bugger off, and just kind of get away from the limelight and the pressure, and the kind of everyone looking at you being like Nigel Benn's son. I think that's why he's got such a fucking chip on his shoulder. Pardon me, French. Such a chip on his shoulder. To be honest with you, he's just always like angry and like.
That's in his makeup, though, Dave.
It could be, but
you take that away from him. It's like
Take away the fighter.
It is, yeah. You're taking away off the fight. It's like I don't know, Eric Cantona.
Yeah.
You take that bit of spite out of his game. He wasn't the same. He couldn't be the same player.
Yeah, possibly.
You know, and that's pretty much what has been instilled into him from his dad. He probably looks up to his dad and acts a little bit like that way because his dad was maybe as well. But that's how he is. You know, and I think you take a lot away from his game and a lot away from him as a person if you try and knock that out of him. I don't see it as arrogance, though. I see it as confidence.
I think it comes in to compensate for his lack of boxing skill. Certainly, that's why his dad had it.
But he admits it as well, Nigel, doesn't he? He admits he wasn't the best. He wasn't the best boxer, and that's why he was always in wars.
Yeah.
You know, he'd stand toe to toe with anybody, and most of the time came out on top. And I think, talking Nigel Benn, I think if he'd have looked after himself a little bit better, he would have won fights that he lost. You know, he might have won. He might have won that first fight against Eubank because he'd run out of steam. If he'd have looked after himself a bit better, he might have won a few of the fights where he ran out of steam later in his career, especially. I don't see Conor Benn doing that. He's much more strict. He's much more on it. He stays at weight all the time.
That's what I was just about to say. Conor's a bit. Conor's far more disciplined.
Yeah.
He's not going on heavy drinks. He's not getting
he's
involved.
He's obviously learned from it, and his dad's taught him from his mistakes.
But he's started to change man by all accounts now. He is. He's a man of God now, and I think he's getting all that advice. So when we were speaking on previous shows about sometimes your dad and David just brought up there being a hindrance in your corner, A classic example now would be the Eubanks. I think having his dad speaking to him, because his dad's not there in every fight because he's halfway across the world in Australia. But I think the advice he's getting from his dad's spot on. And I think the relationship his dad has with Tony Sims, I think him staying with Tony Sims is good for him because clearly it's working and the gym's competitive and success is breeding success in that gym.
Yeah, you see it even in things like the runs.
The sprints against each other. Yeah.
You see the competitiveness that can only help, can't it? I see him going places, and I'll say it again. He's got a very good chance of winning a world title in a couple of years. Look at Dave's face.
but not with Tony Sims. No, it's it was a good performance, and I think what you said at the start, Carl, about being a rabbit in the headlights. I think he was just overwhelmed, wasn't he? I think he just got caught with the right hand and thought, I did not see that coming.
And that's my only little red flag that I've got. Where let's keep it into context a little bit. Yeah, good record, Vargas, and all that malarkey. I get that. But let's just keep it into context a little bit, and let's not run away with ourselves. That's all I'd say.
Fair comment.
Yeah.
So we have this one fight we haven't discussed, isn't there?
Shannon Courtney and Ebony Bridges.
What a great fight!
Yep.
Ebony Bridges showed a hell of a lot of heart in there, didn't she? And for me, a bit naughty. I think that referee should have stopped that fight 2 rounds earlier because of the eye.
I was quite disappointed with the Sky commentary though, where they're talking about them going into the 10th being level.
Oh no, shocking.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of the time I switch the commentary off. I mean, for me, Andy, she was still coming forward. She was still throwing punches. So if I was the ref, I'm not too sure if I would have.
She was throwing punches, mate, but she couldn't see the punches coming.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, right?
It was a bad eye condition.
Sometimes you've got to take it away from the fighter because when you're that brave, it can be really dangerous, can't it?
Difficult one though, Andy.
Isn't that the corner's responsibility though? Because you could hear her say to a corner, "I can't see out the eye." Yeah,
and they still sent her out.
Yeah,
but I think it's a difficult one because I think she deserved to hear the bell, didn't she? But
the thing is,
that's what I mean, Andy. It's a balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not, is it? The thing is, what sort of damage has that last round or the 2 last rounds done further down the line to her boxing career? Yeah, that could put her out completely for a career. You pull her out 2 rounds earlier, and it could save a career. Now, for me, they're risking way too much there. Yeah, she was in. You could say she was in the fight. For me, she'd already lost the fight by that point. But you could say that she's in the fight because she's still throwing punches back. Well, she's going to because quite clearly she showed a lot of heart. Sometimes for me, you've got to take it away from the fighter and the corners should have pulled her out. But the referee, again, should have. He looks at that eye twice.
Yeah.
Well, it was going to it every round when it started ballooning up. For those last 2 rounds, she couldn't see.
At least get the doctor over. If you're not willing to make that decision, get the doctor over. Let him have a look.
Poor decision for me.
Yeah, it's. I also think as well that the corners have got a responsibility for that. They know the fighter.
Yeah, they have.
But I don't think the fight was as close as what was made out to be. It was was competitive, but it doesn't necessarily mean you've got to reward them by scoring the rounds. No. I don't think Ebony was doing enough to win those rounds.
No.
She was just marching forward, and I think people get confused with aggression and effective aggression. So they think because a fighter's marching forward, they're winning the rounds without a fighter actually doing a lot of work.
I think mid rounds, Shannon Courtney was struggling a little bit. She was blowing a little bit.
Second wind.
Yeah, and she got that second wind, and that was the difference in the fight for me. I gave Bridges 3 rounds. I think you gave her 2, didn't you, Ray? Mm-hmm. What about you, Dave?
I think 3. I think 4 at a push. I think in round 8 or round 9, she caught me with the left hand right on the bell, which didn't even get mentioned because Matthew Macklin, Adam Smith are just who they are. I think there was an argument there for it to have won 4.
Right.
How about you, Carl? How many rounds did you give her?
I gave her about 3. I know the punch that Dave's talking about, where her legs dipped a little bit, didn't it, Dave? Yeah. I'm not overly impressed with Shannon Courtney. I've got to say, I'm not overly impressed. I mean, she's come over from Australia. We don't really know much about her, do we, in terms of what her previous fights look like. But I'm just not seeing what everyone else sees. I'll be honest.
Do you think Rachel Ball does the number on her again?
I think she beats her again. I think she's got a number.
I don't.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Do you not think that first fight was really close?
I thought it was close, but I just think...
but I'd Rachel Ball winning that by at least 2-3 rounds.
Did you?
I don't rate Shannon Courtney. I've watched her a few times now, and she's not the biggest puncher. She's not great at moving. She gets hit a lot. So, I just don't see it. I know people rave about her, but I just don't see it.
I won't say I rave about her. I think you're giving her a bit of a disservice there, though. I think she's a bit better than that. Let's
put it this way: she's in a gym where she's got a lot of talent around her.
Yeah,
and there's a reason why Adam Booth won't work with her.
Yeah.
What's the reason?
And then on the flip side, you've got Savannah Marshall, where I think she's absolutely brilliant at it, Savannah Marshall. And I think she's going to clean up. You know, the way she uses the range and uses them long levers, and she's clearly got power as well, hasn't she?
Yeah.
So,
her jab's absolutely terrific as well.
Yeah.
Savannna Marshall. She sets up all her shots well. Yeah. And that's what Carl pointed out. It's a bit like you can see shades of her moving like Tyson Fury, but when Savannah hits you stay hit. And that's probably the difference when we compare it to Shannon Courtney, whereas, you get hit as she's stepping up in levels, albeit it's not a big pool down at her weight at bantamweight, but no one's escaping Savannah Marshall's right hand.
How relaxed was she in there as well?
That's what, I think she's starting to believe her own hype a little bit now, because it's been well documented. She suffered with confidence, didn't she?
That's what I was saying last time. It's well known up here that she's always had issues with her self-esteem, her confidence, and she's a really quiet person. But now she's all of a sudden, Peter Fury's put something in her where she now believes in herself. Like when she's talking and giving her interviews, this thing she said in her interview about what Clarissa Shields doesn't want to know. She wouldn't have even said that in a post-fight interview 3 years ago. That
just perhaps shows you how good Peter Fury is as a coach.
Psychologically, because he understands the psychological aspect of boxing.
Yeah, and he's so chilled as well, isn't he? He don't really make predictions unless he's pushed to.
Andy, did he hear? When he Savannah Marshall knocked down Lindbergh in the first time? Did he hear the advice from the corner from Fury?
No. What did he say?
He just said, "Just stick to the jab."
Did he?
That was it. Stick to the jab. Don't rush in. Most coaches probably say, "Oh, put it on her."
Yeah, put it on her. Said, she's ready to go.
Yeah. He just said, "Jab. Stick to the jab," and that was it. Nice, concise, clear instruction, and that's what she did. As soon as got back in the centre ring, putting on the jab.
I know that Lindbergh came in, didn't she, with quite short notice. I didn't realise that when we were speaking on Thursday. But even so, no one's done that to her. No. Yeah, she's.
How do you see the fight with Shields playing out?
I
know you were telling me you don't see it all going Shields' way.
No.
Savannah beats her.
Savannah stops her.
Yeah.
I mean, let's have it right. Clarissa Shields has been the greatest women's fighter probably ever, and cleaned up and deservedly gets the plaudits she gets. But she can't last 10 rounds with Savannah Marshall,
and she knows it.
Yeah, and that's why she won't fight her. Well, that's why she hasn't so far. I mean, she's not scared at saying how good she is. But then again, she's not calling her out, is she? You don't ever calling out Savannah Marshall, do you?
I honestly think Savannah Marshall has a look at her for a couple of rounds and then just dismantles her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
really do.
I mean, she beat her. She beat her in the amateurs, didn't she?
Yeah.
And I don't see how she can keep away from her.
No.
I don't see how she can.
I think it's a money fight, isn't it? I think straight away, like after the Savannah Marshall fight, Eddie Hearn put a tweet out saying, like, we kind of know what fight we'll want to happen next, and Clarissa Shields retweeted it saying something along the lines of, "You know how to make it happen."
In other words, give me the money and I'll fight
as
her.
much money as you possibly can, and I'll fight her.
There's obviously a figure in there. There must be a figure discussed.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably been discussed. Eddie Hearn says he's in talks with her camp.
Yeah.
Do you see if Clarissa Shields knows she can't beat her? Do you see this as being her last payday? Do you think she retires after that fight?
Yeah, they're talking about it.
She's already making movements to go into MMA, isn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, is she?
So, yeah. So I think that tells its own story.
Right.
Why, if you're at your peak and you're undisputed champion in 2 weight classes, why would you then start making ventures to go into another sport when you've still got another legit champion in one of the weight classes that you came to be undisputed?
Yeah, Eddie Hearn needs to make that happen then, don't he, quickly, because that could be the end of it, and that could be her way out. Oh well, I've decided to go on a new journey. That could be her excuse to not fight her at all.
Well, he's making noises that it lands on the AJ Fury undercard.
Yeah,
it should. It's a fight of that magnitude should, because that is the AJ Fury fight of women's boxing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest fight, and you'll not see a bigger fight in women's boxing for a number of years. I'm brutally honest.
No.
And I think it's really good, because I still think Clarissa Shields still has a lot of skill.
Yeah,
I think she because Savannah Marshall. That's one thing I would make one criticism of her is she struggles a bit with her footwork. So that's one of her biggest improvements. Like if you watch some of her earlier fights, her feet have been all over the place, but she's got away with it because she's been so powerful.
Right. Pete, do you think Peter Fury is going to work on that though?
That's
one of his big. That's one of his big things, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Movement, body movement, footwork. It's one of Peter's big attributes as a trainer.
If you watch some of our earlier fights, you'll see what I mean. Her feet are being all, because she's still had that natural power, she's not really need to be set to land those heavy shots, and that's coming in time. So I think by the time these two are fought, she'll be fighting a very different Savannah Marshall than she fought in the amateurs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And it's very likely that Clarissa Shields goes into the second half of the fight in front. But
I don't think so.
Eventually, she gets caught, and when she gets caught, then it's good night, Vienna.
I think it'll be a one-sided affair. I really do.
I think you're doing Clarissa Shields a bit of a disservice saying that.
I think she's over the hill. So I think Savannah Marshall's a lot fresher. I'll tell you what I think will happen. I think she'll have a good look for a couple of rounds and break her up. That's my prediction.
I think it's done in 6. Like
she won't be able to keep her off. So
yeah, I think it's done in 6.
Maybe.
I'll tell you what, it might be worth the last topic being. Might be worth discussing Eddie Hearn's big decision that he's got coming up regarding Sky or DAZN, which I believe he's got to make a big decision on who he goes with over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Sky contract's coming to an end, isn't it? Yeah, it's a big one. Well, we'll stick with Bob boxing because obviously you've got his darts and all that as well. But he really, without Eddie Hearn, British boxing wouldn't be where it's at.
Why? We've got Frank Warren.
Have you seen those BT cards?
No comment.
Ray, I completely agree with you, but Sky have been the channel that have given him that platform. So without it works both ways. Without Sky, he wouldn't have had the platform to do what he's done in the last.
All the money.
Yeah. You know.
But then he's got to do something with that, hasn't he? That other promoters haven't.
Of course. No, yeah, completely agree.
So it's a bit like yes, they've given him the opportunity, but he's taken that and done tenfold.
So
really.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate a little bit then. So let's look at this two ways. Firstly, what happens if he stays with Sky?
It's business as usual. He's got to produce the goods because at the minute he's getting a bit of a monopoly here, isn't he?
So, well, this is what I was just about to bring that to. DAZN are coming into the UK market.
Yes. Yeah.
Do they then go and rinse all of his talent because he's turned them down?
Because I'll just jump in quickly. You know, MTK got a great relationship with DAZN as well.
That's what I was just kind of pointing at.
I think he'll still keep most British boxers that he's got. He'll still be able to retain.
Right. Okay.
Because they've got the platform of being on Sky.
So okay then. So let's look at it the opposite way then. He leaves Sky and goes with the DAZN. Yep. Where does that leave Sky and the fighters that Eddie Hearn's got on his books?
Well, this is the other point I mentioned previously is if he leaves and he goes to DAZN, then really that benefits more his pay-per-view fighters than his Friday night card fighters. It doesn't really benefit them,
right?
Because they're not going to get on those big cards in America, or they're not going to.
What's to stop DAZN replicating Friday night fight nights and Saturday night fight nights for them domestic level fighters? Because they've been direct. They played nice up to now, haven't they? Let's be honest. But I think eventually DAZN are going to want to conquer the UK market. So what's to stop them replicating them sort of shows?
And at the price they're currently charging, it's pittance compared to what
it's not going to stay at that. It's not going to stay at that price forever, though, is it?
No, it's not.
Why not? If they want to take everything away from Sky, they need to keep it low. They need to keep it pretty low.
Yeah, they can keep it low, but they ain't going to keep it at. And what's it now? Is it £2 something or whatever it is?
£2 a month.
Yeah, £2 a month. They ain't going to. I mean, my view is, I don't know the ins and outs of the offers. So for me, it's whatever is going to enable those big fights that are going to be on Matchroom, because he's got the monopoly of the fighters, but he's still going to have those same political issues. Why the big fights aren't going to happen. So if it's
Ray, you're born in Francis, then you sat in the boardroom at Sky. You've got Eddie Hearn in front of you. What are you telling him? Do you want to say?
What I'm saying is, I'll say to him, what do you need to make those big fights happen? It's clear, it's as simple as that. What do you need to make these big fights happen?
It's a real crossroads.
He's probably going to say to him, just remember what we've done together.
I'd agree.
And he's probably also going to say to him, just remember what else we give you. Because I know you didn't want to bring everything else into it, Ray, but that has to come onto the table.
The darts and everything, yeah.
Because Matchroom's not just boxing, is it?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a wild entity, but I just wanted to just keep it on the boxing, because ultimately it's going to be the boxing that makes that decision.
It could be a PR disaster for Matchroom.
It could, yeah, because it could lose everything.
Yeah, because
and who's to say DAZN conquer the market if they come into England anyway? There's a lot of people that are loyal to Sky, even though they pay ridiculous money for it. There's a lot of people loyal to it because of everything else that they get in that package. There's also another angle to look at. Did you hear in the week about the deal that Sauerlands have just made?
What, with Wasserman?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
So they're going to be looking for a big platform. They could very easily jump in with Sky. And Sky could be very, that could be an angle for Sky to turn around to Eddie Hearn and go, well, we've got other options.
And don't kid yourself, Warren would be, I know Warren's in with BET, but what's to stop the Americans coming over? Bob Arum. Nothing, is there?
Yeah, these are all viable points. I mean, for me, what we've got to look at is if we do lose Eddie Hearn, within our country, we've only really got that are on TV, Hennessy and Frank Warren from the British promoters. Then you've got MTK, which really have their own platforms.
So do you see the...
Don't forget Carl Greaves, Ray. Don't forget Carl Greaves.
Yeah, and Carl. But Carl's not on. He's not on TV yet, though, is he?
Do you see British boxing dying off a little bit if Eddie Hearn disappears?
Yeah, but that's the point I was making just there, wasn't I? If for Sky giving Eddie Hearn the platform, he's given them the Froch Groves fights. We've got AJ Klitschko. We've got the emergence of some real household names.
Yep.
And look at the state of where British boxing is now.
Yeah.
I would argue that British boxing is at its best it's ever been.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And probably
and Eddie Hearn has been a massive part of that.
Eddie Hearn probably took a bit of a leap of faith with the likes of Froch, didn't he? I know Froch
took a leap of faith with Ollie Harrison. Maybe?
I know Froch was already world champion when he took him on his books.
Yeah, he wasn't an household name though, Andy, was it?
He wasn't an household name because he was with Hennessy and Hennessy weren't going anywhere. But Eddie Hearn it's still a bit of a gamble. But that gamble paid off because what Froch brought to the table was excitement. And
for me, it started off
drew the fans in.
Yeah, and it started off a prize fighter for me. I mean, he took a gamble on that.
Yeah.
And then he took a gamble on Ollie Harrison when he was fighting David Hay. We all know how that went, so I'm not gonna mention it.
However he got that fight, however he made that fight, you've got to pay homage, haven't you? You must,
That and this is the point I'm trying to make. So he's took two risks there. Took a risk on Ollie Harrison when no one would touch him. The BBC after what happened with the BBC, no one would touch Ollie Harrison. Eddie Hearn backed him. It didn't work out. Then all of a sudden he thought, okay, I'm going to get a little bit deeper in. He signed Darren Barker, Carl Froch, Kell Brook, and then it went from there. And
then you've got another massive step up when he signed Katie Taylor.
Yeah,
because look what that's done. Katie Taylor's. Everyone goes on about Katie Taylor being the leading light in the ladies boxing world, especially in Britain, and she is, because it's brought on loads more women fighters. But what it's done is her success with Eddie Hearn has given the platform for the other girls to get on the shows. But that's Eddie Hearn's doing, because that wouldn't have happened under somebody else's watch.
Of course,
because no matter what you say about Eddie Hearn, he thinks outside the box.
He loves a pound note.
He thinks outside the box. And
he's
willing to take a chance.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying to Silvio. It's everything from the production to his cards to the way he actually old school promotes his fighters, and he's very modern in the way he does it. He always seems to be one step ahead.
He's only modern compared to Frank Warren and Arum, I'd say. Social media you're talking about, aren't you? Where he's all over social media, IFL, etc., etc. He's got no real competition in and around his age, really, has he?
No, but you know what he does? What he does really well?
In and around this country or in and around...
Well, name me another... I know you got Sowlands, but name me another promoter in and around his age group, a prominent one. And that's my point in case, Ray.
Yeah, Sowlands, MTK,
Yeah.
That's it. But
So
there's not that many about, though, is there, really?
No, but what I'm saying is he's got a clear run at all this modern social media, hasn't there? Because the others are miles behind. You know, so but he's just a salesman, isn't he? Let's have it right. He sells.
Well, yeah, he's a businessman. He's a businessman, and I think to answer your original question, about whether he sticks with Sky or goes with the Zone. I mean, he can pick and choose, and the fact that he's in this position in the first place is credit to him.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to choose one of them, though.
There's also another thing. There's also another thing to look at, and that's the relationship that he builds with his fighters. He's not like another promoter that just turns up a few days before fight night and throws the money about, stands behind the fighter on the walk-in. You know, some of his closest friends are now the likes of Cole Froch and Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
Because of the relationships he's built with them. He's been through the emotion with them. I mean, look at
Darren Parker. When Darren Parker won the world title.
Yeah. Look at the emotion. Look at the emotion he showed.
That is. If you ask him now, and I know Dave's asked him, what's your best win as a promoter? That is always in his top three. Sometimes it's the first thing that comes out of his mouth. What I would say is, because obviously Dave knows Lewis Ritson, Lewis has got a very different relationship with Eddie Hearn. So I think it's his top fighters he's got that relationship with.
Yeah.
But my argument would be, quite a close relationship with Dave Allen. And Dave Allen was never going to be a top fighter.
I think he saw something in Dave Allen, didn't he?
He liked him because he was a marketable guy. He sold a lot of tickets.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But, I mean, we've got... I've just seen Imran's putting here, Eddie Hearn, in my view, is going nowhere. He's going to travel the world and he will always come home and bring the good fights like the one tonight. And then on the 1st of May, I think he's put Delroy, but he's going to say it's Delboy. But yeah, there's some people out there that think Eddie Hearn will stay loyal to Sky. I mean, what do you guys think?
I know.
Really, go on, Andy.
I was about to say, I know what Cole thinks, and it's got a little bit more to do with his vested interest than anything else, and that is that I think you think he's going to go, don't you, Cole?
Yeah, and the reason why I think that is because if it was a straight choice to stay with Sky, he wouldn't just come out and stayed with them. So there's obviously something there that's tempted him to even consider it. So I think my prediction is that he may well go to the Zone. I'm not obviously Sky aren't happy with the fact that he's got some involvement with the Zone, clearly, or he won't be being asked to make the choice. Because at the minute he kind of manages the two relationships, doesn't there? Well, there must have been a conversation somewhere where Sky have almost said enough's enough.
Well, the thing is, Sky miss out on some fights that they would have got.
Canelo.
They're missing out on stuff that they would have got before.
Luke Campbell.
And it probably puts the nose out a little bit.
So a couple of weeks ago, just in the quick one, Eddie Hearn said he wants to be like the UFC in boxing.
Mm.
Do you think that was another hint going into the Zone's way? Because that's where I was going when you said, well, what question would I ask him? And I said, what money would you want? Because that's what you would need to make those type of decisions where you can say, okay, these fights are happening. Because really, you would need to be in a position where you're controlling the governing bodies at that point.
And also, don't forget...
Either that, Ray, or DAZN completely break away from boxing as it is and create a UFC of their own. Because if they're in bed with MTK as it is, MTK got hundreds and hundreds of boxers on their cards. So I'm not saying that they will do, but that could happen. That they just decide that DAZN just decide, well, okay, let's just not bother having our fighters in with the governing bodies as it stands, the boxing world as it stands, and we'll create our own boxing world.
I mean, Eddie Hearn as a commodity is worth a lot of money, isn't it? You know, contacts, building a brand. He's clearly very good at building a brand. All the contact regarding the boxing, contract negotiations, fight negotiations. His old man's just an accountant, isn't it? So when it comes to numbers, he understands all the numbers. So it depends what we'll never know, but it depends what offers on the table from DAZN. You know, what is that position? Could it another scenario while we're making assumptions? Could it be that Eddie Hearn was to leave Matchroom with Frankie Boy Smith and go to DAZN as a consultant independently and leave Matchroom to get on with Sky? I don't know.
No.
I think if he was to leave Sky, Matchroom would go with him.
That's his family business, isn't it? He's not going to walk away from his dad.
Yeah.
He did always say, don't it? He'll only stay in boxing for a certain amount of time. You don't want it to make him bitter. I don't know. There's obviously something there's something of interest, isn't there, on the table? Clearly,
he's torn into it because he can see the bigger picture. He can see that there's so much more to play with in the world than the British Isles.
That's why I think he's forward thinking.
Yeah, he's probably thinking he's done as much as he can in Britain. You know, he's done the 90,000 Wembley Stadium fight. He's done the Cardiff Principality Stadium fight. What's left for him to do? Once this AJ Fury fight's done, what's left for him to do? You know, if he is that forward thinking, there's other markets out there, isn't there, that currently don't or have very little to do with boxing that could be exploited.
Very lucrative.
Yeah, and you know he's been to them a couple of times, the Saudi Arabias of this world, and I think that's where he's probably thinking his next move's going to be. And if that is the case, then he can only do that with his own content.
Yeah, because Sky aren't going to be interested in them territories, are they?
Well, no. So
what do you reckon, Andy? Did you stay or go?
Oh, I really don't know, mate. I can't give you... This is one I can't give you a straight answer on, I'm afraid.
I think it's because there's so much that going behind the scenes that we can't even take into consideration.
No.
And that's what I said earlier, that if we just keep it to the boxing, because no doubt the darts will come into play. They'll, you know, if they say, okay, you're going from... If you're going from Sky, then you know your darts are going and they'll say other things and they'll have an impact on the fighters.
His old man's going to be very nervous, isn't he?
Yeah. Because for him, Sky and Matchroom are the perfect relationship for Barry.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to think. It'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall when they have that conversation, wouldn't it? Barry and Ella.
Oh yeah.
Very different standpoints.
Yeah. But
so it'd be interesting.
But he's changed the face of it, Eddie. And whatever happens, he deserves full respect, top marks, because he really has put British boxing back on the map.
And then lastly, obviously, AJ Fury contract comes to a close tomorrow.
So did you hear what Eddie Hearn said about that earlier on tonight?
No, enlighten us, Andrew.
Okay, so and also Fury's done a couple of videos about it as well.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
So AJ and Fury both get to see what's on the table tomorrow. And there's a number of opportunities abroad, Saudi Arabia, America, and the UK. They're all options. They're all viable options. They all make money sense by all accounts. And I think really it's now basically they're going to hand them to the fighters and go,
that's it.
You make your decision, boys. Where are we going?
Quite interesting. It's so lastminute.com, isn't it?
Well, that's how these things pan out, isn't it, normally?
For the big fights.
A lot of posturing, isn't there? A lot of posturing. A lot of.
I mean, let's have it right. The only time that I've seen a massive fight get done overnight without any hassle was the first Wilder Fury fight. That seemed to get done without anyone even talking about it.
Yeah, you know why that was?
Well, because they thought they were getting Fury easy. They thought they were getting Fury when he was not half the man he was when, from previous.
If you look at the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, that was even more drawn out in posturing than this fight.
Absolute joke, mate. And that to me was all about Mayweather waiting until Pacquiao was past his best.
Yeah, if I had to make a prediction, I'm going for Saudi Arabia first fight. And I think they might sneak Wembley in for the second one if it's a 2-fight deal.
So, let's say the first fight gets done for
July.
When do you see the second fight? Same time next year.
Yeah, because you obviously. Yeah. And remember,
that's spring at the very earliest.
But remember, Wembley closes the roof now, doesn't it? So if they did want to push it to back end of the year, they could do. I
can't see it happening that quickly. I think, and the problem is as well, the first fight will happen. The second fight for me won't be for all the belts.
Oh no. Yeah, I said that last time. Yeah, because they can't, because that's the reason why this is happening now when he's not fighting Usyk, and the Wilder fight isn't going to happen for Fury.
Don't rule Vegas out just yet, though.
No. Like I said, America are in there, we're in there, and the Saudis are in there. But I'm not sure that anybody's going to give them the money they want. I think they're going to have to really plug the pay-per-view and hope that they get world record buys.
Well, I think that's what
this is the thing, though, because if we're talking about the fight and you're saying July, I personally think it might be a little bit later. The reason why I think it might be a little bit later is because even when you go back to those fights, the big fights, they had time to build them on pay-per-view. Yeah. If we're in April, start of April, July, well, it's still 3 months' time. I don't think that's enough time to build the pay-per-view. Yeah, considering the marketing and the pay-per-view, I think there was talk about pushing it up to £40 to compensate that.
I think they'll do that anyway, Ray. Which is a crying shame if they do that, because that's a kick in the teeth for British boxing fans. Yeah. We've been loyal and paid pay-per-view, up to, what is it now, 25, 26 quid sometimes. Yeah. And that to me is too much money with the subscription you already paid.
It's cheaper than what the Americans pay.
I know it is, but
doesn't make it right though, right?
Yeah, it doesn't just because the Americans
no, that's not what I was saying. But because at the end of the day, you pay Sky, you can pay up to £120 a month for it.
Yep.
And then if you want the pay-per-view, so that's what, 140 sometimes a month.
Well, yeah, and that's if you're only buying one pay-per-view. What happens? When you got 2 or 3 pay-per-views a month?
Exactly, because if BT want to put one on, you're paying for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think in terms of we know that the fight's a big fight, but they still need time to build it when there's a date set.
Yeah,
and I just think, in my opinion, July's a bit too soon.
Yeah, you might be right.
I think they might go towards the end of the year. So I definitely see the fight happening in the Middle East. I know Fury's come out and said he wouldn't fight in England again. I think sometimes Fury, not that he talks rubbish, but I think sometimes he says things just to
wind up.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And
he says things for reaction, don't he?
Yeah.
And he's very good at it.
Well, he is, because we're for it all the time. But I think the second fight definitely happens in the UK.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think it will. But
it will.
I don't think it'll be for the all 4 belts, because I think that's a condition if this fight happening.
Yeah, I think the governing bodies will split them up after this fight. But at least then they've had that career-defining legacy fight that where somebody's now become the newest the newest champion that's held everything since Lennox Lewis, you know.
All the marbles.
And that can never be taken away from me, even if they don't have to defend it after that. Even if they don't get to defend all the belts, it can never be taken away from them, can it? That's what this fight. I mean, I was going to go on a bit of a rant tonight because I knew that we were going to talk about this, but I've had to dampen my fire a little bit. I was gonna go in at the two fighters and talk about legacy and about, you know.
Well, feel free, go on.
No, because it looks like the fight's going to happen now, but.
Well, don't bet your bottom dollar on it.
No. I think it is now. They've said what they've said, and Eddie Hearn's come out with the fact that they're going to be putting a few options to. I think it's going to happen. It wasn't looking like it was going to happen, and I was gonna kind of go in a little bit at the fighters and say, you know, what's more important to him, because they're both multi-millionaires already. You know, they both if they hung the gloves up now, then the family, their kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids wouldn't have to worry about money ever. They've made that much money between them.
Yeah.
So for me, how much money do you actually need? I know that this is a really dangerous sport and they're the ultimate top-level guys in the golden division and they deserve to get paid what they get paid. But at what point do you go, legacy is more important than how much money I'm getting paid for the fight? Because when they laced the gloves up originally, do you think their goals were to be the richest fighter on the planet? No, their goal was to be heavyweight champion. Their goal was to be undisputed heavyweight champion. So why is that not the most important thing anymore? Because to me, it don't seem like it is anymore with fighters. It's all about, well, I'll have the fight. How much you pay me for it?
Then my other point is, AJ's come out and said he wants it. Fury's come out and said he wants it. Eddie Hearn is coming out and saying he's wanting it. Eddie's doing all the talking for this fight.
Yeah.
What's Frank Warren and Bob Arum saying?
They're not saying anything, and that's not great. That doesn't look great from Tyson Fury's point of view. But it's all hot air for me, Ray. From any of them.
It's all who? Sorry?
It's all hot air.
Right.
Because nothing's been signed. They've had plenty of time. It's not like they didn't know this fight.
Is that the fighters? Is that the fighters, or is that people in their camp?
All of them.
Above them.
All of them.
Barriers.
It's all of them. The fighters should be turning around to them promoters and going, "What is going on? Why are you not making this fight happen? This is my defining fight in my career. Make the fight happen."
The bottom line is they work for the fighters. How many times did you hear him say AJ's the boss? Blah, blah, blah.
Then if that is the case, and Tyson Fury is the boss, then it's down to them, isn't it? Why are they not wanting this fight? Because this could and should have been made a long time ago. Do you think this would have happened in the days of Hagler, Earns, Leonard and Duran?
But no, because the fighters barely had any power in those days.
But the fight's happened. They didn't turn around and say, "I'm not fighting him. I'm not." They weren't like sitting on the fence. Oh, but I want to fight him. I want to fight him, but I don't want to fight him.
Yeah, those fighters had no power, but they fought. They got in the ring. Those were genuine. They could fight every week if they could.
Do you know why though? Do you know why though? They were hungry to be the best, Ray. They were hungry to be champion and prove they were the best in that division. That's why they all went against each other. Well,
because they weren't wearing silk pajamas like the boxers that were boxing today.
Like I say, bang average fighters didn't they had to fight the best in them days to earn a crust, didn't they? Let's have it right.
But they probably didn't get paid. They probably didn't get paid that much money for fighting them fights.
Yeah.
You know, it was only probably the latter end when Leonard came out of retirement and fought Hagler that the real big money bucks were in. You know, for those fighters,
or the heavyweights, because the Ali fights.
All the money was in the heavyweight division, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You know, but and that didn't stop Ali, Joe Frazier and George Foreman getting it on, all between each other.
Look at the whole 70s as a decade. That'll tell you.
Yeah, they need to look at themselves a little bit here for me. I don't want to go in too hard because I don't know what's going on in the background, but I just don't understand if it was about legacy, if it was about being undisputed, the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis, this fight could have happened and it should be done and dusted. There shouldn't be any arguments. There's just too much ego, and they seem to be more bothered about money than about titles.
It's not only that, but they're holding the old division up, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
You know, because if it's not going to happen, just come out and say it's not going to happen, and let's start making some other fights.
Yeah.
It's people like Dillian White, Alexander Usyk, I feel a bit sorry for, because their careers are on hold because two men
it's a snowball effect.
Two men can't make a fight.
It's a snowball effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Usyk's number one contender. He wants to fight at the WBO belt, so he can't make his fight with Joe Joyce because he's waiting to find out what happens with this fight. Once this fight's been made, he can make his fight with Joyce, and then the winner of that gets a shot. And then you've got Dillian White standing around having to fight the best of the best every single time he goes out, when he's been number one contender for the WBC for 3 years. It's disgraceful, really.
Yep.
It just shows you what state boxing's in when this can be allowed to happen. There should have been a time limit on this fight. The governing bodies should have. The problem is that because there's 4 governing bodies that control boxing, they've all got their own standards. They've all got their own levels of what they believe is right and wrong. They should have all got their heads together, sat around a table and gone, right, how long we're giving them to make this fight? A time limit should have been set, and it should have said, right, you need to all be signed. The stadium needs to be signed. The venue needs to be signed. Everything needs to be done and dusted by this date. If it's not, we're calling mandatories.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to be happening, does it? Because all that happens is the likes of Eddie Hearn pays off the governing bodies and pays off the number one contenders to just sit around doing nothing. It's not good for the sport.
Yeah, that's a difference in boxing, because you wouldn't get that in any other sports, would you really? And then when you're comparing it to UFC, that was a point you made when I said about the UFC and Dana White being there, and you said, well, that's the whole point, because everything's in Dana White's control. Yeah, and the best have to fight the best. Otherwise, they get booted out of the UFC, and someone else comes in and takes that spot. But the fighters aren't scared, are they? They go in, they understand the pay structure. They get paid so much for the fight. They'll get paid so much for being the best knockout of the night, for being the best fight of the night. They know where they stand. The only person in the UFC that's got any other clout than Dana White has been Conor McGregor, and that's because of how much Conor McGregor pulls into the UFC. How many fans from out of UFC that aren't really UFC fans, Conor McGregor pulls in. That's the only reason he gets away with what he gets away with or has got away with over the years. Yeah. The others, they all toe the line because they all understand the way it is.
I think in boxing as well, people worry about the O too much. They worry about the loss, so they don't go into certain fights. Like I said, it's all. That's
been there for some time, and it's been at every level though, because you see top domestic fights and you think, well, why is that fight not happened? And it's never. Yeah. I mean, so when the American show, we were talking about the American fighters, the lightweights they've got, and they're not gonna fight each other. But we had a similar situation when we had our middleweights. So we had the likes of Andy Lee, Macklin. We had Jamie Moore, we had Martin Murray, we had some Darren Barker, we had some real they would have made great domestic fights. But how many of those got together? I mean, Macklin Moore was a cracker, but there wasn't that many in that group, was there? So even at that level, if they can't get it on, It doesn't fill you with great confidence that if you go higher through their levels, it's going to be any different when it should be, because there's more at stake.
Yeah.
Right, lads. So we're bringing this to a wrap then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to close it out, Ray?
Yeah. Lads, great show again.
Good to be on. Good to chat, and we'll have to do this Saturday night show. We'll have to do it again after every event. I think it's a good idea, and hopefully the people that have jumped on tonight have enjoyed what they've seen. Yeah,
it looks as though I've been reading on the comments.
Obviously, we got a few bits coming up next week, haven't we?
We've got a few. On Thursday,
some pre-recorded bits early on in the week with ex-boxers, ex-referees. Show on Thursday. I'm sure we'll talk about Whitley and Williams' next fight.
Yeah,
which is
next Saturday against Andrade.
Looking forward to that one.
Do you want Cole? Do you want to let the public know what's happening Monday?
What I'll do, I will keep it between us, and then it will be premiering on YouTube Monday at 6 p.m. And then we've got further content pre-recorded wise dropping throughout the week with other boxing related people. And I will leave that there, Andrew.
Okay.
Well, nice one, lads. And thanks for the people that watch us tonight. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the channel, and come in and get involved. And we'll see you all next Thursday. Take care. Good night.
See you later.
Cheers.